Hello, good evening and welcome to The United Stand. It's Saturday Night Live, which means we'll be taking a lot of your questions as well tonight. But also, let's get into this. Jose Mourinho's secret transfers, Manchester United's secret transfers. Who are they? We're in a ridiculously weird situation at the moment where the general consensus is that United are trying to do 2 or 3 signings, but nobody's got a bloody clue who it is. And this is obviously cause for, well, it's cause for a few things actually, isn't it? And also wanted to talk about some of the things that Ander Herrera's said, Pereira's said, Luke Shaw has said. But a really interesting stroke, concerning, worrying position for Manchester United at the moment. Because what I would say is, and everybody knows this, that Manchester United, when it comes to transfers, are like a sieve. 2 weeks before we sign somebody, we know who he's going to be, because United's like a sieve. There's information's always being, that's why there's so many sources for Manchester United, because there's always information that sieves out there. Such a big club, so many employees and rumours, and they float around. There's nothing really around transfers at the moment around Manchester United, and that's why we're getting silly ones. But there was something that some people in the live comments were on about earlier about Duncan Castle saying Alex Sandro's agreed personal terms at Manchester United and it's all about the fee now. But this is 2 or 3 weeks old. I mean, I can't see anything about this being relevant. I mean, I've seen it in the Express today, but this is 2 or 3 weeks old. So even if it's true, it's 2 or 3 weeks old. I wouldn't hold out too much hope in relation to that. And as I said at lunchtime, around Manchester United and Sandro at the moment, it's definitely a deal that I would do. But you've got Luke Shaw saying that he's adamant he's going to stay and he wants to do well at Manchester United. So it's interesting. I still think that, Willian, Spanish reports that Barcelona want Willian for 55 million, but they're worried that Manchester United are going to offer the same amount of money. I mean, I really hope we're not. 55 million pounds for Willian when he's 30 next month is ridiculous. We shouldn't be going anywhere near a deal like that. But you sort of narrow it down to what we could be looking at as well. The Croatian lads, Rebic and Perisic, are obviously going to get mentioned. I think they're very, very difficult deals to do. One's got a big element of risk to it in Rebic, as I said last night. Alderweireld, I think, are Spurs going to cash in on him? At this stage, in relation to what we're linked to, if it's no centre-back or Alderweireld, I would take it at this point. And 2 months ago, I was like, no, I don't really want him. He's a bit injury-prone. He's touching 30. I just want us to have an established centre-back pairing. I really do. And I think that one thing I did want to say tonight as well is, and I want to throw a question at you lot here, is we talk about Chong, and we did the San Jose preview at lunchtime. We talk about Chong and he should play in that game. I'm not talking about Chong starting the season against Leicester. I just want to clarify that. I'm not saying that Tahith Chong should be starting games for Manchester United next season. He's not ready for that. What he's ready for is to be on the bench. What he's ready for is Carabao Cup games. What he's ready for is to be involved with the first team. I'm not saying he's anywhere near ready starting games. He's got to be eased in gradually. So I'm not saying that. And I do back youth, and I want to see people like Fosu Mensah and Pereira playing more games. But what I would say is, and I want you lot to give your thoughts on this, Manchester United next season, it's Jose's 3rd year. He's going for it's the title, isn't it? He's going for the title. Are we really going to moan at him for not playing youth next season when it's all about the title? I don't know what people think about that, but personally, I'm like, Jose's not got a great record with youth anyway. Do I really want him messing around playing people like Twan Sebi and stuff? And he won't do it anyway, but realistically, should we criticise him for it when we're actually talking next season's he's got to win the title? So I think that's worth saying. Just on Andreas Pereira very quickly, he's come out and said that he said to Jose Mourinho, I'll play anywhere. I'll play anywhere in the team that you want me to play, and at the moment he wants me to play as a number 6, and Michael Carrick's helping him out really well, but that's real positive attitude from Pereira. I think I would be absolutely furious if we let a player like Andreas Pereira go. He came through the youth setup. Yes, we signed him from PSV when he was young, but we do that quite a lot with players. We sign them when they're like 14, 15, 16 years of age. I like him, and I think he's a good player, and I think he's very talented, and he's exactly the sort of player that should be at Manchester United. And I think if we did have a Pochettino in charge, then he would be using Pereira. So I don't want him to go. I want him to be used, and hopefully Jose does as well. It's looking positive in relation to that. It looks like Ander Herrera is going to sign a new contract. He says that he loves the club, he loves the fans, and it's the best club in the UK, so why would he want to leave? He's only got a year left on his contract, like Luke Shaw. And maybe this summer, just bringing it back to transfers, it hasn't gone the way that many fans thought it was going to go. I actually thought Herrera or Mata could leave Manchester United, but when the summer moves on so quickly, and we're very near, we're 3 weeks away from the start of a new season and we've only sold Daley Blind. The reality is, I think you go into every transfer window hoping, oh yeah, we're going to get rid of this player, this player, this player, we're going to bring this player, this player, this player in. And the reality is, if the summer goes quickly, you end up with what you finished with, and with maybe one out and one in. And that's where we are at the moment, because I certainly don't count Delot and Grant as significant signings to make us a better team. Fred is, and Blind going is right, and Darmian will go. But I don't think that Herrera's an interesting one. I just think it symbolises how difficult it's been for Manchester United in this transfer market, and I don't think the World Cup's helped anybody in relation to that. Herrera is almost deadwood, says Harum. There's a lot. I mean, I was just about to say that there are a lot of people who would like to see Herrera move on because they feel he's deadwood. There's people like myself who really like Herrera. I think he had a bad season last season, but I think he was almost misused, to be honest. But a new contract is quite interesting when it comes to him, because he's a very he's a midfielder that we don't really have at Manchester United. Certainly last season you've got Pogba, but then you've got McTominay, Matic, Fellaini, who are very, very similar. Herrera offered something different. Fred offers something different. So I'm quite happy for Herrera to be saying as well. Just in case people have read this in the live comments, I must just pull them up. It's whizzed by my screen actually, so I can't even call them out. It was somebody in the live comments saying that Sandro deal has been agreed. It's not been agreed. I mean, this is where people need to be really careful. There is stuff coming out today in bits of UK press saying that Sandro's agreed personal terms. I can't remember how long ago we did the video on this. It's definitely over 2 weeks old. The news is from Duncan Castles and it's over 2 weeks old. And that doesn't mean that personal terms haven't been agreed with Alexandro, but there's certainly no deal been agreed with Juventus. And also, in the last couple of weeks, Manchester United have come back for pre-season training, and Luke Shaw said that he's definitely staying. So Manchester United might have changed their thoughts on that. Ryan Benzel, again, a lot of people talking about this Sandro deal. I mean, realistically, I don't know how many people are watching the channel regularly or are new. This is old. It's really old news, and it doesn't mean that there's a deal imminent. I hope there is, but it doesn't actually mean anything. Zed Jamie's probably right. The Sandro deal probably all comes down to Darmian. I think we'll know whether we're signing Sandro as and when Darmian goes to Juventus, because that should be the kick-start, or whether he goes to PSG, or whether he actually stays. Right, I'm going to take some of your questions because it is Saturday night Q&A. Sophie says, any news on Darmian? I think Darmian will go while he's in America. He's in America with Manchester United. Juventus are on their way over there, so I think we'll just do that deal and he'll go and join up with Juventus. That's what I think will happen with that. Will Young be sold, says Aaron Gungshai. No, he won't. Ashley Young's not going anywhere. Smooth Gaming says United transfers are done. They could be done, but that's certainly not the stance that Manchester United wants at the moment. They are trying to get signings done, but whether they get them done or not, I don't know. I'm going to stay positive. Bonucci's staying at AC Milan, just say no to drugs. And I'm with Luke Shaw staying and being our left back, says Wack here. I get tired of saying this. I think most people will know my stance on this. I've got nothing against Luke Shaw. I do like Luke Shaw, but he'll always pick Young ahead of Shaw, so I hope we sign a left back. Red Devils fan says, I can't believe we're not signing a left back. Well, you don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. United haven't changed at all, says Happy. Bale is not coming to United. He loves Madrid, says the GOAT. Craig Bellamy's come out today and said that Manchester United can't afford Gareth Bale, which is total nonsense. Manchester United can afford Gareth Bale. I don't know what his wages are, but we're playing... Alexis Sanchez is on massive money, so of course we can afford Gareth Bale's wages. It's whether we need Gareth Bale, and it's also whether Gareth Bale will leave Real Madrid. Manchester United, what I would say about the transfer activity of Manchester United is it feels and looks like we're all in for Gareth Bale. And that's why it's very quiet, because the Gareth Bale deal can't kick in until Gareth Bale decides he's leaving Real Madrid. And Gareth Bale doesn't know whether he's leaving Real Madrid at the moment because he doesn't know what Real Madrid's plans are in relation to Ronaldo leaving. So it feels like Manchester United are just hanging around for that. because there's nothing else. There's nothing else out there. There's no leaks. There's no talk of us being in for any other player, which is why I said last night, I really do think it comes down to 2 or 3 signings from about 5 players, and that would be Willian, Bale, Sandro, Alderweireld and Harry Maguire. I don't really see us being beyond any of those. Maybe Rebic or Perisic, but I think that's just paper talk. I don't think we're in for anybody else because it's so late in the day to suddenly pull out a left field signing. It can happen, but I don't think it will. And I don't think Bale's going to happen. And I think that's going to be another stick that Woodward will be beaten with again, where he's wasted a whole summer trying to get him, if that's true. But it certainly feels like it's true. It certainly feels like that we've spent a lot of our summer trying to get this deal done. And we're basically, waiting cup in hand, aren't we? Please come, please come, please come. And I think even, the scary thing is, even if Gareth Bale decided he wanted to come to Manchester United, how hard would that be to do a deal with Real Madrid, who don't want to sell him? Perez doesn't want to sell him. And how much would they mug us off for? I do not know. And also, Courtois hasn't signed for Real Madrid yet either, has he? We shouldn't get another centre-back, says Jared. Well, do you want Jones and Smalling playing? Alexandro agreed, says Pandes. No, it's not. Obviously, we've got people tuning in who don't listen. And no press conference today, says Elliot H. No, I thought there would be. I think the next scheduled press conference for Mourinho is Tuesday. Correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a game tomorrow night. Obviously, we will be live tomorrow night at 10 o'clock with the watch-along for the San Jose Earthquakes. I did a preview earlier if you want to know all about those and our predicted lineups. Pogba West says Shaw will definitely start the season. If Shaw is good enough, he will be our starting left-back. I hope so. If we're not going to sign somebody, I want it to be Shaw and not Young, but I don't think that will be the case. Sandipan says Pereira should be the youth player to break this season. Breakthrough, hopefully. Bale is good, but Martial is the real deal. He is exciting, says Peter Carroll. And Lindelof should be paired with Bailly, with Rojo and Smalling as backup. No need to spend extra on position with the most candidates. Use the money elsewhere on better positions. Ashim Weigel, man after my own heart. Ashim, I agree with you. I think that the first choice pairing should be Lindelof and Bailly, and I'd be quite happy to have Rojo and Smalling as backup. But there's a problem called Phil Jones that's not going anywhere, and Jose, when Jones is fit, always picks him, and you're not going to win a title with Phil Jones at centre-back, Jose, I'm afraid. That Liverpool comment was not funny, says Jaren George. Not really bothered, mate. I said it. It was a joke. If you don't like it, don't like it. So it's called democracy, mate. Where will Rojo fit in? I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, well, I'm not even going to talk about it. The reality is, it was clearly a joke, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, do you? Some people did, some people didn't. End of the day. All it was is people were bound to ask. There was a post from somebody about Naby Keita and saying that he grew up playing football on the streets with a Liverpool top with Gerrard on his back, and I said, well, he must have been really poor because he couldn't even afford a United top. It's a joke. It's a bloody joke. I think people just get too politically correct. It's not even political correctness, actually, is it? It's a joke. Some people don't like jokes, so what? Why is Angel Gomez not playing, says Sid RK. Well, we don't know. We've not played the game yet. Carl Latty says Godin is available at £18 million. Looks like he's going to go to Juventus. Very good centre-back, Godin. I think Godin and Bonucci are clever, and they are not in their early 30s going to think that the Premier League is a good place for them. It's fast, it's furious. It's not the place to go when you're that. Bale for Lukaku, is that true, says Harron. God, no. I mean, it's almost as bad as the bloody Pogba story, isn't it? It's just not. Do people realise? I mean, this is the thing I always think, and I'm sure a lot of you would agree with me on this, is that we're 3 weeks away from the start of the season and people are talking about, oh, De Gea's not signed his new contract, he could go. Pogba's going to leave. Lukaku for Bale. I mean, we're not going to do something absolutely catastrophic like that. And I tell you what, if Jose Mourinho let De Gea, Lukaku or Pogba go, I'd be Jose out. I would. I've got to be totally honest with you. If he let any of those 3 players go this summer, I would be Jose out, because that is not what's best for Manchester United. I can say he needs 3 years. I can back him. I can like him. I can believe in him, which I do. But if he let any of those players go, I would be like, you have not got a clue what this club's all about. You need to go, mate. And the club should do that as well, which is why it won't happen. It won't happen because there'd be such catastrophic deals that it just won't happen. Max Nado's right. Pogba's here to stay. Well, he's here for another year anyway. Jit Car Roy says, sign Robert Lewandowski. Depending upon Martial, Lukaku and Rashford would be foolish. Bale isn't coming. He's just playing around. The trouble with Lewandowski, Jit, is that where does he play? Lukaku's always going to be the number 9. So where does Lewandowski play? He'd want to play, and he wouldn't be playing. You'd have to drop him or Lewandowski or Lukaku. They can't play together. We don't play a front two. So, and they wouldn't. They're not the sort of players that would actually supplement themselves really well. I knew that was coming. I've got a cold. Third season is the decider, says Haram. I agree with him. We need to start making movements in the market. This squad isn't going to carry us to a Premier League title or the Champions League, says Google. I agree. Pandas says, I think Lewandowski would want to be a starting player and not a backup. I agree. James Smith says, Liverpool are finishing above us. No Manchester United fan should ever be saying that, James. Nonsense. I'm not having all this Liverpool nonsense. They're not finishing above us. And regardless of what you think about the players, the transfers and the manager, we're Manchester United and we fight to the end. And I'm not giving an inch to Liverpool. So no, they're not finishing above us. Thanks for all the bless yous. That's really nice. Summer cold, Gareth. They are the worst as well. Buy Varane, says James Fleming. I think we've got more chance of buying him. Messi is the best centre-back in the world, Varane. Why would he come to us? I also agree with Max Nado that Lewandowski is too old and highly doubted to perform in the Premier League. We might as well just admit that we aren't signing any more players, lads, says James Revolution. No, James, it's too early. It's too early. I mean, look, as I said to you all, on Thursday morning, I got told something that made me feel a lot positive, and I was more positive, and I was feeling negative as well. But let's just see what's going to happen. Let's see what's going to happen. If in 3 weeks' time we've sold nobody, then we can all moan about it then. The transfer window will be closed. There'll be nothing we can do. Then we can moan about it. But I believe that we are going to do business in the next few weeks, and I am confident about that. Even before I was told that on Thursday, for people who've been watching, I've said we'll do 2 more signings, and I've been saying that for about 6 weeks, so I think we will. Sandro to United would be a downgrade for me, in my opinion, says Juventini Blanconero. I like the name. I wish you'd told us why. Dude, take lemon and apple cider. Thank you, Peter B. Manchester United will sign Totti for 67 million. I would have liked it about 15 years ago. And keep the questions coming in. I like this on a Saturday night. Liverpool always slip up. Says, I'm not worried about Liverpool. City are going to be good next season anyway, so they ain't winning the league. Would you still take Milinkovic-Savic, Mark, says Alex Ball? Well, I would. And I'm glad Alex has said that, you know. Because we talk about signings and we talk about what United are going to do. And I've always said that Milinkovic-Savic, I like him, but he's exactly what Jose Mourinho loves. He's over 6'2". He's strong, but he's also good on the ball. He's exactly the sort of player that Jose Mourinho would like at Manchester United. And I just wonder, because he's on holiday and stuff, and Lazio do want to sort of cash in, and Juventus can't afford him, maybe he's going to go to Real Madrid. But you know what? Maybe I would add him in as number 6. I think United are going to sign 2 or 3 players from Bale, Willian, Sandro, Alderweireld, Maguire or Milinkovic-Savic. I think if we're going to sign anybody, it's going to be from those 6. And I would take Milinkovic-Savic. I really do like him. I suppose a lot of people will think, well, if we're signing Milinkovic-Savic, we're selling Pogba, which is ridiculous. That would be a bad decision to do that. And it won't happen. So I think Milinkovic-Savic is quite a left field signing, but you never know. Would I want Dybala, says Ralph Lauren? Look, the reality is, whatever people think about the Pogba situation, and it is nonsense that he's leaving, his relationship with Jose isn't the best. And he has a good friendship with Dybala. He had a good friendship with Griezmann. Griezmann didn't come to United. I don't think Dybala will come for the same reason, because I think Pogba will be like, don't come. Battlefront play, says Milinkovic-Savic has got a lot more potential in him. He's only 22. I do think he'll be one of the best midfielders in the world. He had a bad World Cup, but I didn't judge him on that anyway. Rebic is 24 years old. Other targets are near 30, including Perisic and Lewandowski. What are your thoughts on Rebic, Joseph Young? I'm glad he asked that question. Please do drop the like on the video, because it's Q&A tonight. Let's see if we can get to 500 likes. Rebic, look, in the World Cup, I said about Rebic, he looks like a younger version of Perisic, which is not a bad thing. And then I did a bit of research on Rebic, because he had played in Serie A, but he hadn't really lit it up. And he was at Sampdoria, and he's gone to Eintracht Frankfurt, and he's done okay there. But for 24 years of age, his domestic career has been very hit and miss. And actually for Croatia in the World Cup, he was hit and miss. He had some good games and he had some really quiet games. That, to me, is not a Manchester United signing that we need at the moment. Now, if we sign him, I'll back him. And I do like some of his traits. He is similar to Perisic in some ways. But are United really going to spend £40 million on Rebic, who has no real pedigree in domestic football and has had an okay World Cup, and in a season that we're meant to be trying to win the title? It would be a massive, massive risk. I'd be excited by it and I'd back him and I'd hope that he does well because he has got the traits we need. But I don't, if to be honest with you, I don't think we should do it because I think it's too risky in year 3 to be signing a player like that. So I don't think we'll do it, but I'm not totally opposed to it. I just think it's a risk. Brandon MEFC says, well, but Bayern Munich are interested for a reason. Exactly. I'm not saying he's a bad player. Who would I take out of Dybala or Icardi, says Samuel? I mean, I love Icardi. And it looks like Real Madrid are in for Icardi. Peter Carroll says Cavani is a very good player and I would consider him as a target. Again, he'd be another player who wouldn't want to be second fiddle to Lukaku. If we are going to sign a striker, I think it will be an Artovic or Mandzukic, like Damartio said. Somebody who's happy to be on the bench and used off the bench. We can't go out and sign anybody else. Humad says Harry Maguire is 25, so he isn't that old, but wouldn't he stifle the growth of Lindelof, Axel and others? Well, if we sign a centre-back, that's the case for anybody, isn't it? You know, even if we signed Alderweireld, who's 29, you'd expect him to be here for 3 years. That's no good for Lindelof. I mean, there has been talk that Lindelof will go on loan, which, I said this last night a little bit, but expanding on the point, before I take another question, I don't understand Jose Mourinho's signings. I remember last summer saying Jose Mourinho's signings have been really good because we said Bay's been good, Pogba's been quite good, Zlatan was a success, Mkhitaryan, this is the defining season, and then obviously we bought Lindelof, Matic and Lukaku. A year later, we're saying Bay's not been great, although he can be. He's not really been used last year. Pogba, again, jury's out. Mkhitaryan's been sold, Zlatan's gone. Lukaku was good, Matic was good, and Lindelof's not been used. So his two centre-backs, Bay and Lindelof, that he bought, he just doesn't use. Thanks for the contribution, Joseph Young. Appreciate that, mate. I feel like we are getting to a point where we will make desperate and unnecessary signings, says Julius Prinsloo. I was going to touch on that, actually. The fact that there's no real news about United signing players, or no real, like... When United get within a couple of days of signing somebody, or a deal being done, it hits the press. It always does because there's too many leaks. We're not at that point at the moment. I mean, I'd love to be wrong, but we're not signing anybody in the next 2 days because there's just nothing around. I think that we're still waiting on the Bale thing, like I said. But what we should also do is we should have backups ready. We can't just be... Basically, the way I see it is if we are trying to get Bale and we don't get Bale and then we don't sign anybody, that's disastrous for Manchester United because we are Manchester United. And if you don't get Bale, you've got to get somebody else. You can't just go, well, we didn't get the one we wanted. You were after that player for a reason, to make us better. If you can't get that player, you've got to have somebody else to go for, because if you don't get anybody, you haven't solved the problem. So we must have backups. I'd love us to be really aggressive in the next few weeks. I'd love us to go into Milan. There's 70 million. Perisic. He's not worth it, but who cares? We've got the money. Leicester, there's 60 million for Harry Maguire. There's 70 million for Perisic, Inter, and Juventus, you can have 50 million for Sandro. I mean, how much does that come to? 70, 120, 180 million for those three players. It'd be a big spend, obviously, but it would solve a lot of our problems. And I'd be very happy with Perisic, Sandro, and Maguire. I'd probably be happier with those than I would be Bale, Alderweireld, and Sandro, because Perisic can play both sides and he's more hard-working. Maguire's younger than Alderweireld and I think he can be just as good. And Sandro's the consistent. So I just wonder whether we are and have got things backed up behind. Harron says that Perisic is overrated. I don't think he is. I think he's very good. I think he's really good. Malcolm would be a decent signing, says Josh. I think he's off to Roma. Dybala to be used on the right, says Kurbab Ali. All I'm going to say about Dybala is it's not going to happen, but, and that means I don't think it's going to happen, but never say never with United. You never know. I'm going to read this as you've typed it, Rancis Fenton. He says, Bale is injury porn. He definitely is. I think he means prone. But he's definitely injury porn as well, isn't he? He does get injured a lot. I like that. Making me laugh. Hey, we've got DiMarzio in. We don't want that injury porn Bale. Prone Bale. Let's call him injury porn from now on. I like it. What's your thoughts on Benzema calling DiMarzio a liar? Says Sojrin. Yes, so Benzema has... DiMarzio has linked... Benzema to Milan, and Benzema has come out and called him a liar. All I would say to Benzema is DiMarzio is far more accurate than you are. And that's a joke at how many misses Benzema does. But I think that's Benzema strikes me as a bit of a knobhead anyway, to be honest. And how unprofessional? Well, I'm unprofessional calling him a knobhead, but this is a fan channel. How unprofessional is that of a footballer to call out a very respected journalist? I think it's poor form from Benzema, who obviously cannot go to Milan now because he'll look like a liar himself. Liverpool has a good chance of winning the league, said nobody ever. Josibar said it, but I'm saying nobody ever. I would rather not sign out of those 5 for the sake of it, says Mohammed Cade. Well, you know what? We've got a few minutes. Do drop a like on the video. And everybody, well, if you can be asked, put in the live comments the I'm going all Lithby. The 3 signings you would like Manchester United to sign in the next 3 weeks. Which 3 signings would you like us to sign? Which 3 signings would you like Manchester United to sign? And don't do something stupid like, say, Bale, Marcelo and Cruz, because that's never going to happen. 3 realistic signings that would like United to go for. Doesn't mean we have to be linked to them. You could easily say Philippe Max, Koulibaly, and I don't know, Rodriguez. So crack on and we'll read some out. Joseph Young has made another contribution. Thank you, Joseph. He says, if United doesn't end up signing a left-back and centre-back, should fans assume the board are happy with second place and maximising profits? Is it possible the board are happy with second place? It's always possible that the board are happy with second place because they get the Champions League money. My prediction, from what I've heard from people like Flex and people who go to the games, are that if Manchester United play the same football that they played next season with the same problems, i.e. Ashley Young, Phil Jones, Fellaini, and they have the same results, there's going to be a lot of trouble at Manchester United aimed at them by the fans because they've not improved what is blatantly, obviously a problem. And why haven't they done that? And that won't necessarily be all aimed at Jose. John Brooks says, Mark, if we play Shaw left back, Sanchez right wing, would you rather see 3 new signings or 3 youth players get 25 games each next season if Jose did that? John, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I would love to see some youth players play football for Manchester United, but I don't think next season is the season for them to be doing it. I think Jose's had 2 years where he could have been using the youth, but next season is such an important season. I don't think he won't anyway, but he shouldn't be experimenting with youth because this team should be ready. And everyone says, what's our formation? What's our style of play? What's our best 11? Well, he's had 2 years to establish that, and he could have integrated some youth into that as well. This is year 3. He's got to go and try and win the title. And I think to go and win the title, he needs a left back, a centre back, and a right midfielder. That is what he needs to go and do. So, I mean, you're right to mention Alexis Sanchez. I think Alexis Sanchez is almost a new signing in himself because he was so bad in the first few months that we signed him. He's had a whole summer off. Hopefully he's hungry and ready to go. And if he can get anywhere near the form he showed at Arsenal, then he will be like a new signing because he was an absolute flop those first 4 months. So I'm hoping that Sanchez is going to be a real asset for United as well. Jeren says that Chong is just a pace merchant, don't hype him. Jeren's just a fake Liverpool fan, don't listen to him. I want a team full of Fellaini's, says Zia Piquet. Okay, here we go, we're getting some people now. Revel Shane says Bale, Kante, Gaya. Gaya is the left back at Valencia. Kante I don't think can happen. Bale, who knows. Rahul says Sandro, James Rodriguez and no Dembele, who is the French midfielder. A lot of people talk about him a lot. I like what I hear about him, but I can't honestly say that I know a lot about him. But I've heard a lot of people talk about him. Ronald Peters says Savic, Perisic and Maguire. Signings, Chicharito, Bale and Savic, says Man. Thanks for the contribution. Don't, that's interesting as well. Don't rule out the fact that we might go for a backup striker. Jose Tutu says, if Jose manages Manchester United the way he did at Porto, we would be Premier League champions with the present squad we have right now. No doubt about it. I think we've got a very good squad, I think fans get really worried about Liverpool signings and things like that, but I still think that when you look at Liverpool's squad and Man City's squad, certainly we've got a better squad than Liverpool. We have. They're just underperforming and not playing good football, but we certainly have. Seth Sosia says Bale, Maguire and Brozovic. Brozovic is a good player. Football Sean says Sandro, Alderweireld and Milinkovic-Savic. Manolas, Bale and Sandro, says Jack. I like the Manolas one. Chicharito is not good enough, says George Kyle. I think he's good enough to sit on the bench, George. I think that's what we're looking at, is a striker who can just come on in the last 10 minutes. Talisco's already gone to China, Callum, but he says Talisco, Rebic and Sandro. Dybala, Verratti and Koulibaly, says Edmond. I mean, what a three that would be. Maguire, Vardy and Malcolm, says Ben Hodgson. Sandro, Bale and Koulibaly, says Big LT Spartan. Sandro, Savic and Maguire, says Alex Garampur. Sandro is consistently there. Douglas Costa, Maguire and Alexandro, says Milan. Ducour, Godin and Bale, says Mr. D7. Varane, Isco and Mbappe, says Manon. I told people not to be unrealistic. Maguire, Perisic, Sandro, says Harry. You're talking my language there, Harry. I'd love to see that happen. I think it'd be really good, balanced three signings there. Darmian will leave. Don't worry about that. Somebody's on about that. Lozano, Toby and Sandro. I like that one as well. I don't think we'd go for Lozano though. Sandro, Maguire and Zaha, says Brandon Duffy. Zaha's an interesting one, isn't he? I think Zaha was better than a lot of United fans thought he was, and Moyes sort of messed that up. But I don't quite know whether he's a top 4 player. I don't know. I don't think he would come back to Manchester United either. Vidal, Thiago and Vidal or Thiago, Lozano and Sandro, says Lee Poskett. Vidal's interesting as well. Spoke about him on the Transfer Daily this week. Okay, let me just have a quick look, because there is people who are putting stuff in the live comments that I think is highly inaccurate, but it's always worth having a little check. Yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing about Sandro, so don't worry about it. Trippier, dream on, says Martin Sheridan. Yeah, I don't think we'd get Trippier. He's a Spurs player, isn't he? It's very hard to do that. And Douglas or Willian, Sandro and Trippier, says Dr. Faraz Ahmed. Look, you know what the interesting thing about it is that I think so many Manchester United fans, if you look around Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, there are so many Manchester United fans across the divide, across, local fans who've been fans for years and years, worldwide fans, kids who support Manchester United, the older generation. Everyone you speak to is just saying, why aren't we signing players? So it's so universal, that opinion. It's not a dividing opinion. Or the vast majority of Manchester United fans are, why have we not made any signings yet? I think we're going to do them. But imagine if we don't. If we don't do it, I dread to think what's going to happen if we don't do it, because I don't think we can win the title with the squad that we've got at the moment. I think it's a good squad, but where's the inspiration? Where's the change? Where's the motivation? Fred and a coaching change is not going to be enough, is it? Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I am going to go and get myself a hot toddy now because my nose is really bad. Remember tomorrow night, please do drop a like on the video before you go. But remember tomorrow night, we normally do Sunday night live at 8 o'clock, but it's a weird night tomorrow night because United are kicking off at 10 o'clock. So what I propose to do is go live at 9 o'clock. We'll have a chat and everything before for the first hour, and then we'll cover the game, watch along. So that's how we're going to do it. It'll be live from 9 o'clock tomorrow night instead of 8 o'clock. But we'll continue the stream all the way through the Manchester United game. So a long stream tomorrow night because United are playing. So join us for that, 9 o'clock tomorrow night instead of 8 o'clock, just for one night only. And next Saturday night, we're playing Liverpool. We're playing Liverpool next Saturday night, so looking forward to that one. Probably do the same again, 9 o'clock all the way through. So, thanks everyone for watching. Back tomorrow. I'm sure we'll probably do a video in the morning because there's always news in the morning because it's Sunday Papers time. And obviously the watch along tomorrow. So, thanks everyone for getting involved on this Saturday night. Thanks for all the questions. Really enjoy it. Lemsip's a good idea, the Heath. And Come On United says Battlefront plays. It's nice. The great thing at the moment is, obviously we're all interested in transfer news over the next 2 weeks, but we also get football games to watch, and this is the second game, so we should be looking for a little bit of improvement from those players who played on Thursday now. They've got a game in their legs. Now let's start to see their touching improve, and their fitness improve, and their ability on the ball, and their cohesion improve. So looking forward to that. Thanks everyone for watching. See you all tomorrow, unless something happens tonight. You never know, we might announce bail. No chance. Don't. I was totally joking there. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching.